the car pulled out on us. My testicle hit the petrol tank and it went up into my stomach, which I had to get cut out for almost come clean off. I actually died a couple of times. It was very, very dark moment.
Very similar. I wanted to own my own business, wasn't sure what it was. Oh, that's interesting. Like I'm confused by what he's saying. I need to explore that. I was planning to work my whole life and hope to have enough money to retire.
You're getting as much money as possible out of a house and you're not doing it to a high standard.
Like, we had financially ruined.
Some people might say you're taking away from family homes, but obviously there is a demand. So if first off we could just talk about like your backgrounds into this industry, basically, that's what I'm interested in, how we even got here.
Yeah. So I've always been interested in business, in property, always wanted to get involved in it, but never really knew how I was going to go about it. And I'm talking from a young age, from infant school. I used to tell people I'm going to own a business and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I had a really bad motorbike accident. So I was taking a girl out on the first date and she was on the back and driving down Cityway and a car pulled out on us. And didn't have time to brake, the car was literally just right in front of me. So the bike hit the car, the bike flipped over the car, we flew 50 foot into oncoming traffic. I broke both my femurs, my legs in multiple places, both my arms in multiple places, but both my wrists, dislocated both my wrists, shattered my thumb, broke my pelvis in 3 places. I had something that went through my leg, I've got a hole here now. I've got big lacerations on this side. My testicle hit the petrol tank and it went up into my stomach, which I had to get cut out. The girl's thigh bone snapped and come out of her leg. She broke one of her ankles on her other foot, almost come clean off. It was horrific. It was both there in pools of blood. She was screaming hysterically. I actually died a couple of times, and it was a long recovery. And I was in hospital for quite some time. Had to learn how to walk again, stuff like that. It was very, very dark moments, and the suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. I wouldn't have got through it if it wasn't for my family, my friends. But it also gave me a lot of time to think, and I was 20 years old when this happened, and I got to come out of hospital a couple of days before my 21st birthday. And it made me think, like, I've always had this dream, it's always been consistent in my mind that I wanted to own my own business, I wanted to be into property, I wanted to do this, but I didn't have money, I didn't have the know-how. But I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna start educating myself about it, because tomorrow isn't promised. You know, you can die without knowing you can be, they're not here tomorrow. So I started educating myself on it and reading lots of books on property, and I was just craving more information. And this was like, this felt like the light at the end of my tunnel. This was like what I put my sole focus onto, and it gave me something to look forward to. And I was craving more information, and Aaron, who's my best friend, he, I said, I'm looking for more information, I can't find it. He said, there's networking events you can go to where you can find more information and speak to people that are currently doing it. And I was very unsocial and shy back then, and I've grown a lot since then, but I was like, yeah, I'll go. Definitely wasn't going to go. I had no intention of going. I was too terrified, but he'd already booked 2 tickets, and he said, I'm coming with you. We're going to go together. He's going to come with moral support, and yeah, when he then came with me, and yeah.
So yeah, Ellis was. I knew he wasn't going to go, and I was like, I was at university at the time studying programming, and I had like a little web design agency, and like I was always like very similar. I wanted to own my own business, wasn't sure what it was. I thought it was going to be something computer related, and then Ellis was like talking to me, and I was just like, wow, like everything I'm learning I have no idea about. Like I've not learned about mortgages in school, I've not learned about any of this stuff, and it really it intrigued me, because it was like that when you don't know something, you're like, oh, that's interesting, like I'm confused by what he's saying, I need to explore that. And as a friend, I was like, look, I've booked the tickets, they're done, we're going, I'll come with you. We went to our first networking event, and it was just phenomenal. I was just like, okay, so I was planning to work my whole life and hope to have enough money to retire, when actually I can work for myself, I can provide income for my family, and you know, I can live life on my own terms. And it just really blew my mind. Like, even if you buy one property and you put a lot of financial risk up and it gives you £100 a month, you know, if you have 10 of them, like, how many do you need to not have to worry about the paycheck at the end of the month? So yeah, that was when we really like delved into it, and we spent like a year networking, like going on like 3-day courses and just absorbing as much information as we could around property investing. And as we did it, we was documenting the journey. People were like buying into us as well. So then what we did was we found a property. We didn't have any money. We found a property. It was a little flat, and we managed to buy it using the investors' funds, and we refurbished it, and it went really well. We sold it and we made money, and that was like our blueprint moving forward. From there, fast forwarding, we bought like commercial buildings, converted them to residential, or sold with the planning permission. We also bought bits of land and built the houses. But the goal was always that initial, if I make £100 each month, then, you know, it's good. So we knew we was going to HMOs. That was where we was heading towards. And we were like, okay, we want to bring the same quality we bring to our new builds into the HMOs. We don't want to have like bog standard magnolia walls, terrible accommodation, 40 people sharing a bathroom.
Yeah, because when some of our family members are looking for rental accommodation, it's hard to find rental accommodation, and
or good quality.
When you do have when there is the rental accommodation available, then there's not you know, they're fit for purpose, but there's a lot that are very unmodernized. They don't really feel very homely, and as somebody that's renting it, you're not going to refurbish a whole house because it's not your property, right? But at the same time, and you always feel like you're in rental accommodation. It never really feels like a proper home. And the idea was that we wanted to produce such high quality that they can feel like it's their home. It's something that they don't need to feel like they need to, you know, redecorate or anything like that. And it's such a great standard that it just feels so homely. And that's kind of the basis on where we was going with the HMO market, because we noticed that there's a lot of good quality accommodation out there, but it just seemed very standard. And we just wanted to come in the game and make things a lot different. And that's what we did.
Yeah, people want homes to be proud of, right? You know, like if you're in a bad environment or you're in a bad accommodation, that can really like set your mood. But if you're in like something that's like really refreshing, you wake up in a good mood, you know, it's all of it comes down that it really helps people's mental health. And
it's so nice when we see some of the tenants that we move in, and they're on FaceTime to their mum or their friends, and they're so excited to be moving in, and it's just that's what we do it for, you know, and that's what really makes us feel proud of what we do.
I think for some people, the stereotype is like HMOs, you're getting as much money as possible out of a house and you're not doing it to a high standard. Whereas here you're obviously investing, like visibly investing so much money and making it a nice place for people to live, and that's already seems quite different to the stereotype. But with HMOs, often there's a belief that they're sort of affordable housing. Is it, with it being a luxury place, is it affordable housing in the same way HMOs were considered to be, or are you trying to sort of level up the market and appeal to sort of someone with more money?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a bridge really, because you've got HMO accommodation which are cheaper, and you know, that satisfies people at that bracket, and then you've got flats, which would be considered the next run up. But with the flats, you're then kind of starting at the bottom again, where you've got poor accommodation. You need to factor in all your bills, council tax, and then from that point you need to then pay more money to then get something nicer. So our product is kind of in between those two things. So it's of a very high standard, but it's not quite a flat. Does that make sense? So it's in the middle. It sits in the middle of those. So it kind of bridges the gap in that market.
And our rooms come fully bill inclusive as well. So
really?
Some of our rooms are probably on a similar par of the lower end of a flat market, but someone then doesn't have to come in and pay gas, electric, water, you know, everything else.
And obviously, when I did that Selborne Road story, some of the concerns that come up time and time again are sort of around like parking, sort of the noise potentially of having a busy home, and also maybe the excess of rubbish. What do you sort of say to sort of reassure people around those types of concerns?
Yeah, so I'm going to work backwards. So excess rubbish. So we have a property over in Gravesend. Council there are slightly different to here. Here it's a weekly collection, so we make sure we provide ample storage on the bins. You would have seen them as you come in. They're bigger than wheelie bins than you normally get. But like, for example, in Gravesend, where there's a collection they do like general rubbish every 2 weeks. That's not enough for a HMO, especially that property in particular is an 8-bedroom. So what we do is we have a private collection come in between, because we identified a problem, the bins are overflowing, and we've then found a solution to fix that. Sorry, just remind me what your other question
So
was.
Noise. Like
Noise.
having a busy household.
Yeah. So noise, what we do is we use blue plasterboard, which is like an acoustic plasterboard. We put that on the party walls. And that's to prevent noise pollution from our residents, but also from the neighbouring properties as well, because what we find is a lot of people normally complain about the potential development here, but it's actually normally the neighbours that I end up having a conversation with and say, look, you're shouting at 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, like, can you... Exactly, yeah, and that's obviously always frustrating for our customers as well. So we do the best we can. Also, all our properties, when they go over 6 bedrooms, they require a sound test. So that should be some reassurance to the residents, in the sense that we are making sure that there is separation in sound between the rooms and everywhere else.
So this is actually that we actually do this above and beyond what we need to do. So
as a standard, just because we don't want our residents to complain like, I can hear him upstairs. You know, we don't want that. And then parking. So typically, our residents normally either work in London, so they have no reason to have a car because they'll get the train, or they're like doctors, nurses, etc. But usually it's like 1, 2. Maximum 3 people in a house will have a car. And something to always consider is this house in particular was like a 4-bed, wasn't it? Was it 4-bed? This house was a 4-bed. So a 4-bed family going in here, you've got mum, dad, daughter, son. There's typically 3 or 4 cars there anyway. But yeah, most of our tenants, they don't drive. They actually pick the house based on where they work, so that they can be really close. So we have houses close to the hospital as well, and people will move from one house to the other because their job has changed. And it's just that walking distance and public and access to public transport.
Do these properties ever serve student accommodation?
No.
This is completely different.
ours don't.
No.
But other people do.
Yeah.
Other people do.
Do you have any plans to sort of provide student accommodation?
No.
No, you're just keeping it in the professional market.
Yeah.
What do you wish more people knew about what goes into creating HMOs and like the background, and you know, I'm sure there's many hurdles and things that you have to go through. Could you maybe tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so people always they assume that there's a ton of profit, but they miss the financial risk element. Like this refurbishment, how much is this refurbishment?
So this was the property was around 240,000. The refurbishment was around 260. So we've spent more than the property was even bought for on the refurbishment of the property, and that we need everything to go right for that to be okay. You know, if
building
if
control
something
come
goes
out
wrong, like we are financially ruined. So you know, we might make £1,000 at the end of the month, like.
But there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of
you know, the amount of risk that goes into it. I just think it's fair. I think it's fair to get a profit from that.
Yeah, of course.
What would be the point of a business if you didn't make it?
Exactly. And there's also elements as you go through. The building control may say, you know, like we've done a few of these now, so we sort of know it in and out. But there's always something that gets thrown up, and it's like that whole thing needs changing. Like, oh no, and, you know, it's stuff. So yeah, there's always that element as you go through that you may have an idea, and a building control may say, no, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm. And through what you're doing, obviously raising the standards of HMO housing, which at the moment still does have quite a negative perception, do you want there to be sort of more regulation of HMOs? Do you want to see other HMOs providing high quality accommodation? Or is it quite your niche in that sense that you're wanting to preserve?
it is our niche, but I believe in abundance, and it would be good if there is better, like that. It's better for everyone if all the accommodation is of a good, decent standard. Because when someone can just throw out something that's not very good, it's just there's no leveling up. It's no.
The reason I ask is it's just that type of low quality housing that's giving your one a bad name until people actually see it for themselves. Yeah. How long have you been doing this? 2016, is it?
So we've been in property around 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been doing HMOs for maybe 5-ish, something like that.
And what is sort of the vision moving forward for the company, I guess?
So we would just like to scale up. We'd like to create more homes for people. Like I say, we'd like to also. There's a lot of demand for also family homes, and that's another thing that people don't like us doing, is because we're converting a family home into a HMO. So even though we are providing more homes for people, at the same time you're taking away something that is also in demand, even though it still needs completely refurbishing and stuff like that. But what we'd like to do is we'd like to start providing those family homes as well as HMOs. So, we're helping both sides to it, and we can bring our standards to both markets.
Yeah, that brought me on nicely to what I was going to say, that some people might say you're taking away from family homes, but obviously there is a demand for housing of all types of accommodation. So I guess in the Selborne Road case, one of the concerns was about the fact that it was sort of HMO and in between like loads of family homes. Did you see any concerns around that?
No.
And has any of them been able to see the property since? Because I know that they said that you offered to do it, didn't you? But none of them came forward.
No.
Do you think if more people actually saw it, it would change their perception?
I think it definitely would, yeah. And I would always welcome any neighbours to come and have a look, because I think it would, put their mind at rest. I mean, we do now. We do give packs to the neighbours and showing them what our HMOs are like, with some information on the type of people that we tend to let to and stuff like that, because it just
when a neighbour hears that there's a HMO coming in, it's a worry, obviously, because they don't know what type of tenant profile is going to go in there. Is it going to be ex-prison, people coming out of prison? Is it social housing? Like, there's loads of different. So we now provide a pack to consult with the neighbours and show them what it is, and then they'll have our phone number so they can reach out to us if there's any problems. And I actually prefer the neighbours having our phone numbers, so that if there is a problem, I can come and respond to it and do what we need to do. Because if we don't know what's happening in our business, then we're not in touch with our community.
It seems by taking that approach where you're quite welcoming, maybe you're able to change the perceptions of the other HMOs you've had already, from the fact that you've actually been quite open. Is there anything else that you'd like to sort of highlight in the story about your industry and what you're trying to do and your vision and what this company is about that I haven't asked already? Anything you like? What sort of message are you hoping to get across in this story, do you think?
It's a good question, but it's
I like the line on email you said, we're not slum housing.
Yeah.
I mean, is that quite important for people
yes,
to know that?
So important. Yeah, that's so important. If we go into a property, so we also have a communal cleaner coming every 2 weeks, and if we come into a property and we're like, this is dirty, even though the cleaner's coming every 2 weeks, we first address the residents to be like, you need to do better in the kitchen, don't just throw rubbish on the floor, etc. But then we will look at each other like, this feels like a slum landlord's property now. So then we'll do things to rectify. So then we'll have a cleaner come in for an hour once a week to just top up the clean.
So we also manage other people's HMOs, because people have recognised us in the area for having some of the best HMOs in this area. A lot of people ask us to manage their HMOs, and what we always say, we're quite brutally honest, and we say if it's not of a high standard, then we don't want to know, because at the end of the day, we don't want to deal with any slum landlords, we don't want to deal with any slum properties. It's not what we're about, it's not our brand, and we will refuse to manage your property if that's what your property's like. And it could be, it could be simple things like their attitude to how they deal with problems. If they care about the tenants, or if they're of the opinion of, oh well, it's I don't have to live there sort of thing. If that's their attitude, then we don't want to know, because if there's ever an issue, we want to know that that's going to be rectified as quickly as possible. And if they're not happy to do that, then we don't want to know, because that's not what we're about.
So you're both quite hands-on.
Yes.
With the business, yeah. You're keeping it in check. And what was the reaction when you had counsellors? Was it?
Yeah.
Did that sort of help reassure them? Would you say?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it was just helped to paint a picture and to just show that whatever they first perceive what a HMO is, that there is other things out there. You know, they're not all bedsit type poor accommodation that they may think. And I'm not saying that there isn't that stuff out there, because there certainly is, but it's not all like that. So, you know, I think everything should be taken on its own merit and not kind of just put in one box as such.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you're changing the landscape of HMOs?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
And final question, what does it take to be successful in this industry? What do you think has got you to this place?
Perseverance
and determination.
There's a constant battle. There's always things going wrong. You have to know how to problem solve and just keep at it.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, and that feels true, as true as it is.
Yeah.
Could you have seen yourself doing anything else now? Do you feel like you found a business?
Yeah, we found it. We've been I think we've been very, very successful to be able to find something that we feel so passionate about and that we feel happy doing as well.
Excellent.